Hey you guys, so after years of gigs and band rehearsals and videos, it's finally time to sell my beloved Telecaster. Instead of just selling this guitar quietly like I might normally do, I figured I would document this process and we can turn it into something useful for y'all, because if you've ever tried to buy or sell used gear online, you know that it can get sketchy fast if you don't know what you're doing. We're going to go over the common pitfalls, best practices, and things you can do to actually enjoy this process. Before we get started, thank you to Sweetwater for sponsoring this video. So first things first, where am I selling this guitar? What should you look for in a used gear platform? I'm selling this guitar on Gear Exchange, and in the spirit of transparency, like I said, this video is sponsored by Sweetwater, and Gear Exchange is Sweetwater's used gear platform. But as y'all know, I don't do a lot of sponsored videos, but I was comfortable with this one because I think Gear Exchange kind of speaks for itself. In my opinion, the big, kind of most attractive flagship feature of Gear Exchange is that unlike other platforms, you can actually pay 0 fees if you take payment in the form of a Sweetwater gift card. And I'm a degenerate guitar player anyway, so a gift card to buy another guitar works for me. To give you guys a little behind the scenes, originally when I was going to make this video, I was just going to talk about my Telecaster, and then in the video say, hey, if you want to buy it, email me. And the idea is that I could bypass a platform and not pay seller's fees anyway. It's cool for me because I have an audience, but anybody here can just go to Gear Exchange and also not pay seller's fees. There's other great stuff about Gear Exchange. It's used in vintage gear only, so you don't got to sort through new listings. Really good shipping rates, the awesome Sweetwater customer service, and low fees even if you do take the cash payout. Anyway, that's why I'm choosing Gear Exchange. And I should mention that if you want to buy my guitar, the listing will be live when this video is published, so go check it out. No matter what platform you list your guitar on, there's some fundamentals you can do as a seller to get the most money for your guitar, so let's go over it. Alright, first things first, when you're selling, you want to clean the guitar and restring it. Not to be gross, but nobody wants your nasty finger gunk on their new guitar. So take the strings off, clean the fretboard really well, and give the rest of the guitar kind of a general wipe down. I should mention, now is a good time to tighten up any hardware. Some of the tuners were loose, so I went ahead and tightened those up off camera. Okay, we have fresh strings on the guitar now. Next is taking good photos, and in fact taking it to the next level by taking a good video of the guitar. Okay, one of the most important things when it comes to selling your guitar is taking nice photos. Alright, and that doesn't mean you need a nice camera. It means that you need to just very clearly show the guitar. You don't want anything distracting, which is why we're here in this room that has nothing in it. Don't roast me because there's a room in our house that has nothing in it, okay? We have a very small family, and I've had this argument with everybody I know. I'm just principally against furnishing a room that has no purpose. In fact, to be totally transparent, because this just makes my point, there were a few boxes and things in here. I moved them out so that there would be nothing in the room and nothing distracting from shooting nice photos of the guitar. There's also this big window here for some natural light. Obviously, you guys know I have the studio upstairs in the bonus room, but I have the nice lights in there. But not everybody has nice lights, so I'm showing you guys that just with natural light and an iPhone, you can take nice photos to sell your guitar. One thing I do recommend is putting your guitar on a guitar stand, because if you just lay it on the floor or something, I don't know, as a buyer, I always kind of hate that. I don't like the idea of a guitar on the floor. You want to take a lot of photos, and like I said, you just want all of them to be very clear. And honestly, my inspiration for taking the photos is just the Sweetwater product image gallery. If you go to like a new guitar listing on Sweetwater, just kind of recreate the photos there. So it always starts with a close-up, and there's a wide of the guitar, and then it shows you the back of the guitar. One photo I always like when buying a used guitar is a shot down the neck, so you can see that the neck is straight and not twisted. All right, this is actually a good learning moment. Notice that when I was taking that down shot, I moved the mic cable out of the way. It's because the mic cable was in the photo. You don't want distracting garbage like that in your photo. I know this stuff seems basic, but you guys, this really is just kind of what it takes. It's not overly complicated. It's just doing these things right. This will set you apart from the sellers that are kind of mailing it in. This is worth it. A super important thing is to always disclose all the issues with the guitar. This doesn't make the guitar seem worse. It makes you seem more trustworthy. I originally bought this guitar as a scratch and dent sale because it has kind of a gouge on the lower bout, and I put a couple of divots into the neck when I was gigging it hard back in the college days. So I'm going to take really clear photos of all those things. I'm going to disclose them in the description. Disclose, disclose, disclose. And if you want to seem even more professional, even more trustworthy, I usually get a tape measure and put it up next to the gouges. That way, people have some reference. Again, this just makes you seem super ultra over the top trustworthy. All right, besides photos, one of the things that can really take your listing over the top to be very, very attractive is including a video, okay? Now, you want there to be a playing section of the video. Obviously, people are trying to hear the guitar, but I'm going to include just a quick video, just kind of a, an orbit around the guitar so that people can kind of see the guitar for themselves, right? They can see how the light moves off of it. A video is often more telling than still photos. The other thing, like I said, if you're using an iPhone, I usually go portrait mode for the photos, and I'm going to go horizontal for the video. Hey guys, I realized I didn't throw in a clip of me making the video. So basically all I did, just took my iPhone, which I'm recording on now. I set it up kind of like this so there's a down shot of the guitar neck. And then I just did some playing clips. I just went through the pickups and then went all the way up and down on the tone and volume controls, basically just showing that the electronics work right. I'll throw in a clip here. Alright, so now that the guitar is clean and there's no strings and we have our photos and our video, we're going to go ahead and make the listing. Now thankfully, because the Gear Exchange website is really simple, you basically just go to create a listing and then you can either enter the product name and kind of start with some information filled in, get a template, or you can list it manually. I started earlier, so we will go to my Fender American Special Telecaster. So one of the tips here is to find out all the details on your guitar. Find as much as you can. I forgot exactly like the model name and the factory color name of this guitar, so I had to look it up and I had to do some research to do that. And again, that kind of thing is worth it. You want to get as much information as you can. And here's the interesting one, condition. So like I showed you guys, this guitar has some flaws that I documented in the photographs and that I'm going to include in the description and everything. It looks like good is how I would rate this guitar. It says, in good working order but may have some more than minor blemishes or defects. 100% functional with a few imperfections. This guitar is 100% functional, but yeah, there's some blemishes. Alright, so I've uploaded my photos and I'll embed the video link later. But right now we need to write a description. And like I said, it's all about giving as much detail as possible and disclosing everything. So I always start my descriptions just by kind of repeating the title. This is a Fender Limited American Special Telecaster in Autumn Blaze Metallic that I bought in 2019. I'm going to say that this guitar is in perfect working condition, but it has some cosmetic blemishes, and then I'll explain the blemishes. There's approximately a 2-inch scratch on the lower bout of the guitar and 2 small divots on the back of the neck. Finally, I like to include the reason I'm selling it just to upgrade guitars. I don't think it's a huge deal, but I think if anything, it makes you maybe seem a little bit more transparent. You just don't want to seem like you're selling it because it's broken and it's about to fall apart and you know that and you're just getting out of it quick. And maybe I'll sign off by saying, feel free to ask me questions. Make sure to add an exclamation point to seem like a very positive person. Alright, my listing price. So I've looked it up and it looks like these used go for about like $800 to $900 in good condition. Now this one, like I said, is a little bit below good condition and I want to price it to sell. I don't want to be hanging on to it for a long time and I don't want anybody to accuse me of thinking that, my, sentimental Telecaster is worth more than everybody else's. So like I said, pricing it to sell, I'm going to price this one at like $700. And with all that, we have a very nice guitar listing. I'm hoping to sell it quickly and I think that the buyer is going to be really happy. Just to go over the big points, you want to take nice photos. Also take the extra step to make a video, right? Disclose everything that's wrong with the guitar and find as many details as you possibly can. Alright, let's go over some fundamentals if you're buying used gear. And it's really a quick little section of tips. Number one, and this is kind of obvious, but check seller ratings, right? That kind of stuff matters. If something's unclear, ask questions. And I will say that the response time and coherence of the answers to your questions tells you a lot. I've heard it said with buying used cars that you're buying the seller more than you're buying the car. And with guitars, that's true. And with amps especially, that's very true. I've actually been burned on some amps, okay? So ask questions, try to figure out if this thing was totally neglected or if somebody took care of it. And taking care of doesn't necessarily mean it's in perfect condition. I just showed you guys that my Telecaster's not in perfect condition, but I have taken care of it. For example, the truss rod has not been wound so tight that it can never be adjusted again. The guitar has been maintained even though it was heavily used. The only other kind of buying tip that I recommend to people is be wary of stock photos. It's not always a terrible thing, but I have gotten stuff sent to me that had a stock photo listed and it's like the wrong color or something. Pleased to report that on Gear Exchange, I have yet to see any stock photos. And like I told you guys, as far as a seller, it makes a big deal. People do not like stock photos. And before we wrap up, let me just gush a little bit about how much I like this guitar, how much I like Telecasters, and just kind of give you guys a little bit of the personal history of this guitar. So like I said, I bought this guitar back in 2019 for $900 because of this blemish. It's kind of an interesting story. So I had just joined my first serious band, and I thought that it was time for a tube amp. And you guys know that I'm a PRS fanboy, but at the time I wasn't. And in fact, my first piece of PRS gear was a tube amp. It was a Sanzera 20, which is kind of PRS's take on like a Fender Deluxe. This was the summer between high school and college. I was light on funds, and so I go to buy this used amp, and I walk into this music store, and the amp was there, and on the wall was this guitar. And I just loved the color so much, and I still love the color. Like I said earlier, I'm ready for a new color, but I really, really like this color. My dad, being the bastion of good financial advice, said, hey, why don't you buy both? I think they wanted like $700 or $800 for the amp and $900 for the guitar. And my dad said, hey, just ask the guy if they'll do $1,500 for both. So it's a really good sounding guitar. It's a really cool looking guitar. I really like the amp, and I'm thinking they're probably having a hard time selling this guitar because nobody wants to buy it with the scratch. But I don't care about the scratch. My logic is that it's a Telecaster. It's kind of supposed to get beat up, and people pay good money for relics all the time. At least this, as far as relics go, is functional in that it's actually saving me money. So they accept my offer, and for the next several years, I gigged and just used this guitar relentlessly. I had very specific needs for my guitar at the time. I wanted something that was incredibly simple and very stable. A Telecaster is about as simple as it gets. The joke is that it's just a slab of wood with some pickups and a neck. At the time, we were practicing with my band a lot, so I would get up in the morning, go to school, go to work, and then at night do band practice. And because I didn't have any time to return home, I would have my guitar with me all day. And it would be in my car, and it gets hot in the car. I had a 2009 Toyota Tacoma pickup truck it was the base model, single cab, so it only had the bench seat. And I would slide the whole seat forward in the morning and put my guitar behind the seat because I didn't want anybody to see an expensive guitar and steal it out of my truck. Then I would slide the seat back to sit and drive. And like I said, it would get hot. And at the end of the day, when I finally get to band practice, not only are there no issues, no cracks, the neck was never warped. To this day, the neck's as straight as an arrow. But this thing wouldn't even be out of tune. People like to use the terms workhorse and versatile to describe any guitar, but with Telecasters particularly, and this one especially, I really think that it actually is versatile and it actually is a workhorse. Like I showed you guys before, in the neck I put some blemishes of my own into this guitar, and it's been awesome. All of that said, as I'm sure you guys who watch the channel know, these days I'm mostly playing my red Stratocaster. And this guitar, while great, is not a lifetime guitar for me. I really think of the lifetime guitars as the ones that I'm very sentimental about. So fans of the channel know that I'm never selling my Martin 00028, right? I got my first job to buy that guitar. I'm never selling my red Stratocaster. That was my Christmas present when I was 15. And to this day, it's the best material Christmas present I've ever received. Thank you, Mom and Dad. So as much as I like this Telecaster, I'm ready to experience a new one. This guitar, while I like it and I'm a little bit sentimental about it, it's not in that next level of sentimentality. And it really is a tool. It's a very, very good tool, but I'm ready for another tool. I will disclose one little mod I've done to this guitar. It's not really a mod, but on the pickup switch on a Telecaster, normally they have the black top hat style pickup selector. I always just take a plastic Stratocaster selector and put that on there because I find that the top hats always fly off. I'll make a follow-up video in the future showing you guys what I get to replace my Telecaster, but I'm thinking either something like very, very bare bones. I hear good things about like the Squire Classic Vibe series, or I might go high-end and try to get more features. We'll see. Give me suggestions, you guys. If you want to buy this guitar, go check out the listing. I'll have it linked in the description, and if it's already sold, I'll put the numbers on there. So I'll tell you guys, like I said, I bought it for $900. I'll put the sell price in there, and you can see that over the course of 6 years, I owned this guitar for whatever the difference is. I don't normally make videos about gear, but I kind of like making this kind of video where it's a little bit about gear, but it's also about, you know, kind of the story behind this guitar. And I can also be providing value to you guys by showing you, you know, what are you know, the best practices for selling a guitar. So you guys can get something out of it. And as always, thank you for watching.